The man never expected that. Simply by accidentally touching a girl's slender hand, he would suffer a staggering 58 trillion points of damage. Roughly calculated, that's enough to wipe out all of humanity 300 times over. It all started when he discovered a system exploit. Before being transported, by cranking the appearance setting down to the absolute minimum, the system would grant him 13 skill points. So he decided to stack more debuffs in the note column, such as a 110 gold drop rate, losing 10 HP upon physical contact with girls, and even forming intimate bonds, causing him to blow into pieces. However, once he hit confirm, something incredible happened. The bonus points actually reached a terrifying 100 trillion. While he was still figuring out how to allocate them, the system countdown suddenly hit 0. Before he could even react, a mysterious force whisked him away to another world. Although he was mentally prepared, he was still shocked when he saw his reflection. 3 others had been transported with him, each looking like a top-tier idols, making our protagonist, an obese otaku, look completely out of place. After scrounging up some starter gear and a few gold coins, Jiangsu guessed it, heading to a nearby town. But as soon as the door opened, a goblin appeared right before them. Luckily, Jiangsu reacted quickly and one-shotted it with his axe, seeing more goblins swarming in from ahead. Jiangsu immediately rushed forward with Liz, as both their weapons were ideal for close-quarters combat. Shenhua intended to provide long-range support with her bow, but she couldn't even manage to string the bow correctly, leaving the protagonist finding it painful to watch. Right then, a goblin launched a surprise attack from behind. The protagonist wanted to show off a bit of his power, but when he swung his club, absolutely nothing happened. It was only then that he realized something. He had been summoned before he could even allocate his skill points, with no other choice. He had to fight using brute force after finally defeating the goblins. The protagonist was shocked to find he had jumped straight to level 31, all thanks to his 10 Xerox Exp multiplier. Realizing that system panels couldn't be viewed by others, he simply allocated 1 trillion points to every attribute. But as soon as he finished, his status window suddenly began to glow with a golden light. Just as he was standing there bewildered, the system granted him the title of Absolute God. At this point, he still didn't realize what had happened. He only felt that the goblins' attacks weren't doing anything to him. He checked his status and saw his HP had reached 581 trillion. Curious about the power of 1 trillion strength points, he decided to give the goblin a little flick on the forehead. To his surprise, that single flick sent the goblin flying straight into the atmosphere, laying Shenhua on the verge of tears from panic. The protagonist couldn't bear to just stand by and watch anymore, so he lied, saying he had a disease that would kill him if he didn't string a bow. Drawing from his knowledge of anime and his 1 trillion dexterity points, he finished stringing the bow in no time at all. Then, to test out the feel of the weapon, he randomly selected a skill called Ultimate Sword.
I'll be right back, mighty heavenly dragon. Heavenly dragon. Download Dharma. Curse. Prajna Buddhas. Prajna Buddhas. Hum. Pat me. Hum. Pat me. Hum.
Once the dust settled, every goblin in the vicinity had been completely wiped out. Sanye's teammates shook. The MC had no choice but to make up a lie, claiming he used to be in the kendo club. Mid-conversation, another pack of goblins appeared in the distance. At the sight of them, Shenhua was immediately eager to jump into the fray, but despite her flashy moves and fierce spirit, her damage output was a measly 0.5. In the end, Liz and Cheng Sai had to step in. While Shenhua was wallowing in self-pity, the imps used his item creation skill to secretly craft some swords for her, claiming they were just random loot drops. Unfortunately, even these swords ended up being completely wasted. With the goblins dealt with, the party reached the town safely before nightfall. While the others were busy eating, the NC planned to part ways with the group. Unexpectedly, Shenhua tracked him down and offered him a bag of burgers as a thank you gift for his help earlier. Even though he'd acted like a bystander, the Nishi tried to refuse, but his growling stomach had other ideas. The moment he reached out for the burger, he accidentally triggered the physical contact with females debuff. This caused him to instantly lose 10 of his total HP. To keep from upsetting Shenhua, the MC quickly came up with an excuse, blaming it on her beauty, which he claimed was so dazzling it made his hands shake. After that, he picked up the burger he dropped and was about to eat it. Saying this, Shenhua quickly stopped him and gave her own portion to him instead. Messi never expected anyone to be so kind to an ugly guy like him. He decided to pay back this favor before going back to his life as a lone wolf. The next day, Jiangsu suggested they go explore a cave. Since killing monsters in this world doesn't reward you with gold, they needed to find a reliable source of income to survive. Just then, a man with a scar approached them and offered his services. He claimed that, like them, he was also an otherworlder. To prove his claim, he even produced items found at the starting location. Innocent Shenhua believed him immediately, while the cautious Jiangsu questioned the scarred man's identity. After learning he had served as a guide for newcomers many times, Jiangsu finally agreed after much hesitation. The protagonist found it suspicious, but he remained completely composed. pose. After all, no matter what happens, he is the absolute god who can handle anything. Once geared up, the group set off immediately. On the way, the scarred man not only taught Shenhua archery, but also shared some basic combat techniques. Under his guidance, the group soon reached the depths of the cave and arrived at the so-called boss room. For safety, Changsai decided to call it a day, but the scarred man claimed there was one more thing to do and led everyone to a certain room. He said it was a safe zone created by other players, capable of withstanding any monster or magic attack. Upon hearing this, the protagonist immediately knew he was lying. Just this morning, he had encountered a monster outside the city. He intended to test his staff's ultimate skill, but the system issued a warning before he could release it. Once activated, everything within a 200km radius will be obliterated instantly, with an estimated death toll of 1.5 million people. Therefore, a safe zone in this place was definitely fake. The scarred man wanted to host a welcome party, but after an appraisal, the protagonist found sleeping pills on the jar's rim. While he was considering his next move, Chengxi suddenly declined the invitation. He stated they needed to head back to town before dark. The scarred man didn't push it, thinking he could just try again another time. Seeing how straightforward the reply was, Chengsa figured he was just overthinking things. So after apologizing, he movedly accepted the invitation. Since it was only sleeping pills, the MC didn't bother to warn them right away. It was the perfect chance to teach these naive souls a lesson. Cheng Zi also took this opportunity to open up about his past. Before being transported, he was just an ordinary entrepreneur, until a salesman came to his door to pitch a product and imparted a profound life philosophy to him. From then on, his company flourished and even successfully went public. However, the good times didn't last. Soon after, a tragic accident occurred with the AI they were developing. Almost everyone involved met with misfortune. Even his own mental health began to deteriorate. That was the reason why he fled to this world. The Nisi was stunned to realize that he was that very salesman. Looking closely, the two of them did share a striking resemblance. Cheng Si then asked for the MC's surname, because the salesman's name was the same as his. After he lied and said his name was Sasaki, the drug and the drinks kicked in. Everyone immediately fell into a deep sleep, except for the MC, of course. Seeing this, Scarface walked in with his thugs. Judging by their looks, the others were top-tier merchandise that would fetch a high price. As for the MC, they planned to butcher him and turn him into BBQ pork just as the MC was about to act. Unexpectedly, Cheng Sai managed to wake up through sheer willpower, but the bandits weren't worried at all, as he could barely even stand. Seeing things take a turn for the worse, the MC decided to stop hiding his strength. He instantly transformed into an incredibly agile big guy. Using his massive weight advantage, he sent the enemies bouncing away. The reason I didn't use any skills was the fear that my stats were so high, they'd destroy everything. Seeing the protagonist being pummeled by the bandits, Cheng Sai's fists suddenly erupted with a dazzling light. It turns out that before being isekai'd, he had made a vow in the remarks section that he would never ever betray a comrade. Every extra skill point gained from that vow was poured into this ultimate move. The trigger for it is rage. When his fury reaches its peak, his fists glow with an overwhelming light.
I can't take this anymore. This sudden transformation, it's no use. Terrified the bandits out of their wits.
However, the moment his fist swung out, Cheng Si pulled his punch. The reason being, rather than using brute force, Cheng Si wanted them to face the full judgment of the law. The scarred man ostensibly laid down his weapon in surrender, but he actually planned to backstab Cheng Si the moment he turned away. Luckily, the MC saw through his scheme and rushed in, faking a stumble to neutralize the threat. While being kicked and punched by the bandits, Lin Si calmly flicked a booger at the wall, then quickly shifted the spotlight back to Cheng Si. After a series of bluffs and persuasion, not only did Cheng Si believe it, but the other bandits also fell to their knees begging for mercy. Afterward, the group collected a 100 gold bounty. Cheng Si wanted to split the money equally, but the MC refused, because his gold acquisition rate is a mere 110. The money might literally vanish the moment it hits his hand. Saying this, Sheng Hua offered to manage the funds for him. During the meal, Shenhua grew curious about the MC's status panel, having noticed that by tanking his looks before the transmigration, the MC gained massive bonus points. Our Nancy hadn't expected that. Someone else knew about the note trick, but he couldn't tell Shenhua had nerfed her looks too. Shenhua revealed that she set her beauty to 16, and in the note section she wrote, "I want to be beautiful." Hearing this, our MC felt a sudden pang of regret. If I'd known, I would have written become a top-tier actor in mine. Just then a kitty cat strolled into the shop. Shenhua was dying to pet it, but she hesitated in her seat for a long time. Suddenly she had an epiphany. She could actually stand up now. Saying this, our Nancy fell into deep thought. Recalling how she always touched her limbs instinctively, he deduced that becoming beautiful didn't just mean her face, but perhaps healing her entire body. It's hard to imagine the pain she must have endured in her past life. So RMC decided to stay by Shenhua's side until she can truly stand on her own 2 feet. Afterward, Jiangsu suggested everyone confirm their respective classes to make future battles more coordinated. Had already set his heart on becoming a hero. Ultimately, Shenhua chose to be a mage, while MSC and the blonde girl became a true warrior and a hunter. The group decided to head for the nearest major city tomorrow. Before turning in, Shenhua invited the blonde girl to jump rope together, since she didn't even know her name yet, and planned to strike up a friendship through the game. As for the skills, she had learned them from Amikwa. When it was the blonde girl's turn, Shenhua asked for her name, but noticing her hesitation, she took the initiative and decided to call her Liz still. The girl remained silent and instead performed an incredible high-flying jump rope trick. This scene immediately drew a large crowd, while Shenhua, feeling ignored, couldn't help but burst into tears, but the blonde girl just left an apology and fled. After returning to the hotel, Shenhua found a letter slipped through the door, expressing a hope that the two of them could get along well from now on. While signed in Liz's signature style, Shenhua ran out happily to find her. Little did she know Liz was hiding nearby. There were things she wanted to discuss with the protagonist in private.
Jumping with Shintanori will be doing with us too, after a series of apologies. Liz finally got to the point.
It turned out she knew the protagonist's real name wasn't Sasaki, but the benefactor Jiangsu had mentioned. This was the ability she gained upon being transported, the power to freely view anyone's status panel and note. She came here seeking atonement, as she bore partial responsibility for the AI accident. Shenhua was one of the victims ever since Liz wrote in her note that she wanted to understand others. She gained the ability to see their windows. The price for this power was that she could no longer lie. Jiangsu in the party is actually her brother. He didn't recognize her because she had heavily modified her appearance stats. She knew the protagonist wanted to make Shenhua smile again, so she hoped to help him despite the pressure. The protagonist decided to form an alliance with her. Saying this, Liz also made a firm decision. Cut off her long hair, remembering Shenhua once said that short hair would suit her. That covers the main plot of the first 3 episodes of the overpowered fat hero. Next, let's go over some additional details and settings. In fact, the protagonist and Shenhua had crossed paths long before they were isekai'd back then. Unable to walk properly and having lost an eye, Shenhua was being bullied by a group of brats. Saying this, the protagonist stepped in and scared them off. He even folded an origami crane on the spot and gave it to her, making her realize that she deserved to be treated with kindness. From that moment on, Shenhua began to study tirelessly, gradually regaining her smile. This heartwarming encounter not only influenced the protagonist's choices in the new world, but also served as crucial foreshadowing for Shenhua's future unique abilities. Then there's the debuff where touching a girl drains his HP. The protagonist realized it's fine as long as there's a layer of fabric in between. Besides, just how ridiculous was the sentence Jiangsu wrote in the notes section? If you're curious, just pause the video and see for yourself. Let's just say his Shunibyo phase is terminal. It's clear that the notes section isn't just for extra details. It transforms each person's obsession or desire into the very laws of this world.